I am with it. I am with it. Kellie
Yeah,
said
I don't
she'll
know
be
how
here
you.
in 10.
I don't know how you'd phrase that, but like what to do. I guess what to do when your faith is tested, or
Well, I say we
I don't
talk
know.
about it and
All right.
see what we come up with.
Well, yeah. I mean, we got to do the catch-up thing, so
Right, I was
Kellie
saying
should
we
be
got to
here
do
by
a
then.
Thanksgiving recap anyway, so
Yep.
we'll let that lead us into the conversation. I think I'm gonna switch my headphones up. These are really low. All right, let's do it. Boom shakalaka.
Top of the world, top of the world, yeah, top of the world, top of the world, yeah, top of the world, top of the world, yeah, top of the world, top of the world, yeah, top of the world.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Worst Ones Podcast. This is a safe place for future kids to be the absolute worst. Thanks for the break. My name is Rudy Wilson. I am a PK. We got Terriana in the building. She is a PK. Terry Weezy in the building. He is a PK. And Kellie Lee is away. But she is also a PK. So yeah, we're back from Thanksgiving. Jariana, we can start with you. How was your Thanksgiving holiday? How was kicking it with the fam? What all did you do? How'd it go?
It was cool. It was just more so my immediate family this year, and one aunt, and we went to my sister's house, and it was kind of different this year. But my parents are getting their house remodeled, like the kitchen, the guest bathroom, the foyer. I mean everything: the floor, countertops, backsplash, paint, light fixtures, appliances, you name it.
Is this the same childhood house?
Yes.
Oh wow, gotcha.
We moved into the house when I was 6 years old, so they've been in it for 34 years.
Yeah, I remember.
So they're getting work done. So the stuff that my mom would typically cook, she couldn't cook at all because she couldn't get in the kitchen. And so my sister had to pick up the slack because y'all know I'm not the cook. I told y'all I was bringing the ice, okay? The ice. And oh, my dad is calling me. I'm gonna have to get that.
Just go ahead and answer.
Yeah.
on speakerphone.
It was great. Oh, hello. Where's the meeting? Sorry.
No, you good.
No, so I was gonna say, so my sister had to cook some stuff that like my mom would typically cook, but she never cooked it. So she said she found the recipes off of TikTok. But surprisingly, they were good. Surprisingly, they were good. So
I heard that TikTok is becoming the new like YouTube almost. Like people.
Yeah, because especially with the short form, it's just not all that back talk. It's just straight and to the point. So yeah, we had some TikTok recipes and we watched a movie, played with my nieces and nephews, and just had a really good time.
Gotcha. No, and was it she cooked like the normal Thanksgiving spread, or was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I did cook a dessert, but I'm a little raggedy because I really didn't want to share, and I kept it in the back. So
with your family?
Yes, and they know this. I do this every year, so I did cook, but for me only.
Why didn't you just bake it and just leave it at your house then? Why did you bring it?
Because I wanted it. I wanted it with my Thanksgiving meal.
What was the dessert?
I'm not telling y'all because when I tell people, they just don't understand. They don't understand. Gotcha. I'll tell you off camera.
For the record, we already don't understand why you kept it from your family in the first place. So,
right, from your family, not Friendsgiving.
No matter what the dessert is,
because it's so good to me. I don't want to share. Like I can eat the whole thing by myself.
So you didn't make two?
Huh?
One for them, one for you.
Well, see, they can make their own if they really want one. So
Okay.
just like I made my own because I really wanted one.
Lord have mercy.
Got it.
All right. Candy
That's-
Cane, how you doing?
Oh yeah, it's Christmas pajamas. Y'all know every season I have issues with my HVAC.
Oh
So
no!
sometimes I'm over here fanning, and sometimes I'm over here in my thermal pajamas in my big socks. So with the weather change, I'm here in my thermal pajamas in my thick socks.
It definitely has changed. It's even cold in Florida right now. So I'm
Yes.
Mhm.
And I've been okay because I was hot in the summer, and then it started working, and then my pipe started freezing, and then it was cooling down, so I turned it off. But now in this last week, when it's gotten cooler and I needed the heat, then the heat wouldn't work. So I've been trying to get the HVAC man over here. He finally came today, so that's why I'm a little tardy to the party. And it's heating up in here. It says it's 64 right now. It was in the 40s, so that's better. So we moving in the right direction. Moving in the right direction. But that is why I'm late. That is where I am in life today. Thanksgiving was great. With my family here in Atlanta. My family from Texas and North Carolina came up and stayed with my parents. So I stayed with my parents last week. So that was great. Did Thanksgiving dinner at my boyfriend's house. So that was a new experience. That was fun.
At his actual house or like his people?
Well, his sister's house, but all his family was there. Yep.
Oh, so you met the family.
So I had already met most of them separately, but this was like the first like holiday sit down for a formal dinner type thing. So that went really well. I had brunch at my house on Friday, and so he came on Friday and did brunch with my family, and so that was great. New experience for me. Hadn't been at this place in relationship, so that was great. That was fun. They all went well. So I'm good. Getting back to work this week has been a struggle. I think I've been working on like 15% productivity all week. But we almost there. We'll try again next week.
Well, it's good thing they already gave you your gifts for therapist?
Exactly, school cycle. Exactly. And maybe that's what it was. They hyped me too much that week. And I'm like, oh, okay, I've been working hard. Let me taper it down a little bit. Gotcha. So yeah, but no, all is well. I'm great. I'm happy, can't complain.
Y'all normal Thanksgiving spread, or did y'all have anything?
Normal Thanksgiving spread. So I did with my house too. His parents are Nigerian.
Okay.
And so they did have the jollof rice, which I enjoy, and they had a goat soup. I did not try that. So, but otherwise they had turkey, greens, macaroni and cheese, dressing, cornbread,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So with some little touches of their culture, which was cool.
Is he first? I'm assuming he's first generation American or something like that, which is why you said his parents are Nigerian and not him.
Well, he's Nigerian, but
right.
American.
Yes. I'm like, if his parents are Nigerian,
he's Nigerian. Yes, but yes, he's first generation American. Like, yes, he was born and raised here. Yes.
Gotcha.
So
gotcha. Cool beans. All right. Well, yeah. For me, as y'all know, we went to. Well, for those y'all don't know, we went to Disney parks, Disney Hollywood Studios, and Disney Magic Kingdom. I've never been to Hollywood Studios. I rode the Tower of Terror for the first time, which I've always heard about.
That's my favorite.
Child, yes, big trash. Big trash.
You didn't like it?
I expected a lot more.
What?
It's big trash. I really, from the pictures I've seen, people who rode it before and the way their face looked on it, and even just the whole Tower of Terror, I thought it was a lot bigger drop. Because Busch Gardens has a ride that gives you a pretty big drop, and I thought it was going to at least be equivalent to that. But I was highly disappointed. Maybe I hyped it up too much in my mind, but
I don't think it's about the height of the drop. I know it's supposed to be like 110 or something like that. I think it's the fact that you're in the dark and you don't know that it's coming. It's like the surprise factor of it.
Yeah, I was more surprised how trash it was than anything. But because like for me, the whole darkness ride thing is more electrifying, if you will, for Space Mountain because you're doing a roller coaster in the
Is
dark.
that still there?
Yes.
Oh yeah. That
Okay.
ain't
I love Space Mountain.
That's by one of the few adult rides you can get at Magic Kingdom. So everything else is pretty, watered down as far as like excitement. I mean, we rode like, they have a new Tron ride, but because it was so new, it was still in like a phase where you couldn't just get in line and just go. Like it was like something you had to kind of like sign up for it, and they tell you what time you can come and yada yada yada. This whole little situation. So,
well, there's Splash Mountain too. You know that old racist chestnut.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't typically really get on water rides unless I'm going to like a full blown water park because I'm not really for just walking around wet.
Okay.
Oh, you don't get that wet on that.
In regular clothes, and then and plus it was pretty cool. It wasn't. I mean, it warmed up like a little bit during the day, but we got there maybe like 8:30 in the morning. We went to both parks in the same day, and we didn't leave. We went to Hollywood Studios first, and then Magic Kingdom. We didn't leave Magic Kingdom until like midnight, basically when they were closing. So it was definitely a long day. I enjoyed being just say with the people in the family and stuff more than I did the actual parks. And it wasn't that crowded. It wasn't like super crowded or anything. Enough people there for sure. But yeah, I had a good time as far as like, with my people as opposed to the rides. Like majority of the rides at Magic Kingdom I rode before. Space Mountain is always a good time. The rest of the rides are kind of, I mean,
I'm really just kind of impressed that Splash Mountain's still there, and that it still has the same Song of the South theme.
They are changing it to Princess Tiana themed, I believe.
Okay.
That's the music tour.
I'm just surprised it hasn't come up earlier.
Well, if Splash Mountain was racist, then Princess Tiana is going to be just as racist because you get one black princess and she was a frog the whole movie. But that's another conversation for another day.
Well, I mean, Song of the South is so racist that they just said, no, we're never selling that. Like, you've got a better chance of finding the Zapruder film copies than you got to find in Song of the South anywhere. Disney bought up all the open copies on the internet. Like, you can't even find it anymore. Right. They buried it.
Yeah.
There is this amazing ride. So there's 3 rides. So Space Mountain. Did you do Aerosmith?
We didn't. The line was too long for that one. It was like because I think that's fairly new too, right?
No.
It's been there for a while.
Rockin'.
Or maybe then there was something about it. It was something. Maybe it went down or something. But it was something about the Aerosmith that for some reason we didn't end up riding.
Because it's right behind Tower of Terror. Amazing.
That's been there since I was a teenager. By the way.
Yeah, it's been there for a while. And then there's a new one, and I don't know if it's Star Wars or Guardian of the Galaxy. I get them all mixed up. But when I tell you that's probably one of the best rides I've ever ridden in my life, I just have to remember which one it is.
You're probably thinking of the Guardians of the
Galaxy. We definitely did the Star Wars thing. The Star Wars ride. I don't
You're probably thinking of the Guardians.
Is it Guardians of the Galaxy?
I've heard great things about it.
At Hollywood Studios, there wasn't a Guardian of the Galaxy ride at Hollywood Studios.
Okay, so it may be it may be somewhere else. Okay.
Yeah,
maybe something. But when I tell you their ride there is insane, it is crazy good. I know you live in the area, so if you make it back,
I probably won't. But I enjoy, believe it or not, like we did the little Mickey and Minnie little train ride thing. That was probably more exciting than a lot of the other rides because you basically like. Instead of like the Star Wars, like you're in like these carts, you're on this train that disconnects, like unlinks from each other. Now everybody's in their separate carts or whatever. And that was to me was pretty was way more interesting than I gave it credit for.
Is that the one where like it's super interactive as you go through when they have? Is that the little white? What's the white people thing? Ghostbuster looking. Who the white?
That's Star Wars. That's
Star Wars. What are they
Yeah.
called?
The white stormtroopers.
Stormtroopers.
Yeah.
The white people things.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did that.
Stormtroopers also
That one
come
was
in
good,
black,
too.
by the way. There's black and white stormtroopers.
Well, I just remember the white ones.
Yeah.
You need to
that
go
was
watch
good
Star
too.
Wars.
No, I do not.
You need to go watch Star Wars.
Yeah, I've actually never seen a Star Wars movie myself, so but I know who you was talking about, Kelly. But yeah, we rode the Star Wars ride for sure. But yeah, I mean, overall, it was a good time. You know,
Was it really packed?
No, it wasn't that packed. It was. I think more people probably came like the day after or so. It was definitely a lot of traffic going into Orlando, even just coming from Tampa. So definitely a lot of people had the same idea for sure. But then we also didn't have to so a lot of rides didn't have that long of a wait, and then the ones that did have a longer wait, we had a little plug. My sister's boyfriend's stepdad had some little situation where if you have to step out of line because you got to take medicine for diabetes and whatever, you basically can get in the fast pass line type situation. So granted, he never had to step out of line for medicine, but we took advantage of whatever that perk was.
Whatever it was, right? Gotcha.
So we just basically set it up where you had to come back at a certain time. You pick the ride and they tell you, okay, come back at 2:30. So if it was if it was 1:30 and we had an hour, we would ride two other shorter line rides, and then we would go to that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad you had a good time. I love Disney World.
Yeah, so it was
I haven't been in a long time. I think the last time I went, I was in high school.
I love Disney World. We go every 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. I hadn't been since I was probably maybe 18 or something like that for myself. So it was.
I love it.
I hate it. I hate going to all the theme parks, to be honest. Even the Islands of Adventure and the Six Flags and stuff that's more geared toward adults with the roller coasters and all that. I don't, because every time I pay the prices and I see what I'm paying for, and then I stand in line for an hour and a half to get on something, it's what was the point of the I would I'd rather take $1,000 and go down to the Keys and just relax and eat good meals every, and just chill out than go and spend thousands of dollars to hear kids crying and complaining and.
Well, when you have Terry Jr. and Terriana.
I know. I'm
Terriana.
gonna have to.
Hello, Terriana.
You gotta take them to Disney.
I know, and I know. My wife is absolutely against it 100%. She goes
to Disney?
Yeah, I know, and I told her I was like, we're gonna have to take the kids.
You're gonna have to take Terry and Terriana.
Eventually, I understand,
Absolutely.
But no, she's very much against it. She's like, I don't want them getting any ideas.
It was definitely a kid kicking and screaming on their way into the park. The mom was like, "Oh, I don't want to be held." She put it down. I don't want to walk. She picked it back up. And we were just like, "Well, it's gonna be a long day for them." This
I know.
This is early.
My fear is I spend thousands of dollars to take this kid there, and then they start complaining and yelling and stuff like that. And then I just end up resenting it. I'm like, do you know what I paid to do this? I want smiles and laughter ear to ear for the entire time. And I know that's irrational to even want that or expect it.
There you go.
Well, we'll see how it shakes out.
It will. My nephew, when we took him for the first time, he may have been 6 or 7. And I was just looking at the pictures the other day, and he looked so sour faced going into it. Man, at the end of the day, this was the best thing ever. Going in, sour face. I just want to stay in the car and play on the phone. I don't want to go to Disney World, blah, 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 blah. Give him a couple hours.
It was definitely a kid. That's so funny you say that. When we was watching the fireworks show at the end of the night, it was a kid we were standing next to as the fireworks is happening. They got the little stuff happening on the Magic Kingdom Castle and whatever. He was like, "This is the best day of my life." And I'm like, that's what it's all about. That's how you're supposed to feel. This is the best day of my life.
I can't wait.
So excited. So, anyways, so Terry Wayne, tell us about your Thanksgiving, sir.
Bigger than usual. I'm used to being in Florida where it was just my immediates on one side. So, it's just like dad and my sister, and maybe sometimes my my half brother and half sister would be in town, so they would come by. But that's about it. But up here, like, it's my dad and my sister and my nephews and my niece, and but then also my brother-in-law's family is also here, all their components. So there was like 35 people at Thanksgiving this year. So wow. It was a little big for me, but I guess that's just getting used to it, I made pecan pie, which my pecan pie is kind of famous around here. It is, and it's worth it. But and then a pumpkin pie, and then my $8 cookies. Kellie looks $8 cookies, because for what I spend for them, if I was to sell them and make a profit, I'd have to sell them for $8 each. But they are very, very good, very decadent. Like, it's a whole, like, they're probably about that big. Like, they're pretty giant, and then like you break
chocolate them. Chip and all, what's all in it? Like, as far as
well, not chocolate chips, but like diced up dark chocolate, like a 65, 70 cacao. A lot of eggs, very rich. Some walnut, like toasted walnuts and stuff like that. And, it's not my recipe. I totally stole the recipe from the Levain Bakery in New York, but I said, all right, these are like the most famous cookies ever. Let me steal from them. So now every family, I brought it to like some barbecue or something like that. And ever since then, every woman in that family is like, are you bringing the cookies though? Right. So.
Gotcha.
Well, because they're like crunchy because they're so big, they're like crunchy on the outside, but they're like underdone on the inside. So you bite into them and then it's like oozy in the middle.
I'm gonna send you $16. Can you send me 2?
No, because
that's all I got.
I got to make a batch, and so that'd be about $45. You send me $45, I'll send you 12. So.
I got 16 on.
Plus shipping and handling.
Right.
Yeah.
I got 16 on.
Well, Kellie, we can go in. We can split them.
Go in half. Okay, I can do that.
But no, I will say it was a little bit challenging this year, just because, as I told you before, my dad's not doing well. He diagnosed with Parkinson's, about 6 months ago, but that was after like a year and a half of trying to figure out what was going on with him. So it was a lot more noticeable this time around. A lot of twitching and tics and stuff like that. So that was different. We ended up having a bit of a conversation about it.
We meaning you and him, or just the family, or?
No, just me and my father privately. I would never discuss things like that openly with my particular family. Everybody has their viewpoints, and everybody's really, it can get quite polarizing in my family. So a lot of, I mean, these are Southern evangelicals we're talking about. There's not a lot of movement in any direction. Not a lot of open-mindedness. So,
gotcha.
It is what it is.
But that also brings us to the topic that Terry came up with for us to discuss as a result of your father and his current condition, which is test of faith. And I guess even just what that looks like, how to handle it, right? Yeah. All the above. So I mean, I guess we can start with even just say your father's situation. I mean, what are your thoughts? What are your feelings? You don't have to necessarily disclose what you and him discussed, but as far as just
I mean, like, I'm obviously not gonna quote any conversations, but I mean, you definitely came to the right hombre. I'd say I've had 3 very genuine, crises of faith throughout my life. The first of which being the divorce and the church turning their back on us and all that, and being ostracized and kind of driven out of the community, and then
divorce from your parents' divorce.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and then and then in my late 20s with my mom's suicide, and then obviously now with my dad and his thing. And I had to know. I just asked him straight out. I was like, you spent the last almost 50 years in the service of God in one way or the other, like directly, whether it be ministry or whether it be the philanthropy overseas and the missionary work or the youth organization. I mean, here it is. You've been doing this. I said, don't you feel a certain way? Don't you feel a little let down? And he just kind of, he's like, and I don't know what to take from that. So, that's more of an ongoing conversation, but I know how I would feel if it was me. I'd feel a little let down. And I think that's important, though. I think that's like I said, having gone through this a couple of times, I feel it's important to acknowledge that. Just the same way as when you doubt, you learn nothing from you learn nothing from putting your head down and just trying to pretend like it doesn't exist. The same way with doubt, and the same way with being angry, is you're not going to get anywhere by just saying, oh well, it doesn't exist. Don't pay attention to it. Don't, sweep it under the rug. You'll forget about it sooner or later. I don't think you really get anywhere with that.
And your question, as far as asking your dad, as far as
I want to know. Yeah,
Go ahead. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
I'm saying if he feels, abandoned, or if he feels let down, or I want to know that he feels that way. It would make me feel a little better.
But I'm saying,
I know that's weird to say, and I know that's must be weird to hear, but it would, because it's a humanizing thing, like I said, out of somebody who spent 5 decades doing this. Yeah.
But is your question stemming from because you feel like if somebody dedicates their whole life to just say serving God,
maybe they deserve a little better?
Right. It's in reference to like all these negative things not taking place.
It's hard to come to terms with the fact that, and I hate to go back to this well again, but that Joel Osteen lives in, a $27 million house, and my dad, who never got any of that, now has to, deal with this in his golden years. It's just hard to reconcile the two. But I do come back to the old adages, of the meek shall inherit the earth, and those first in line in earth will be last in line in heaven. I do try to use those to try and equate the two, but but this ain't the Terry show. Feel free to jump in at any time, anybody.
Well, no, I mean, I'm just allowing you to get it all out so that I can even, I guess even know what to kind of address. Because I definitely understand your sentiments. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you definitely have a valid, just say, feeling in reference to, somebody who's not only, dedicated their whole life, 50 years. I mean, 50 years is a long time to do anything. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I can imagine it almost kind of feels like if somebody, just say, for an example, worked a job for 50 years but didn't get their, retirement pension or whatever.
He didn't get that either.
Like, yeah,
he had to earn that in the stock market on his own.
Right. Which, I mean, I ain't gonna say a lot, but there's definitely a good handful of pastors who definitely really pastor until the grave, because there is no retirement pension or fund, even just say in place for them. I will say, and maybe this is stuff that you already know. I think and this is something I've learned recently, but I think one of the I ain't gonna go and use the word biggest misconceptions, but one of the misconceptions I think that we've kind of attained about God is that I guess there's this, so like, you know, we get certain things from him that are considered, just say, blessings as a result of our deeds. You know what I'm saying? When in reality, and I would have to look up the exact scripture, but there's definitely a scripture that says that the rain and sun will rain and shine on the just as well as the unjust. In layman's terms, you know, shitty people can get, you know, great things here on earth. Great people can get, you know, the shorter end of the stick, as well as vice versa. People who do great things can get, you know, the better hand dealt to them, and people who do shitty things can get, you know, bad things, just say, that happen in their life. And for one, I think it's very admirable and honorable that your father served, you know, and dedicated his life to a cause without necessarily, and this is my assumption, just say requiring an ultimate reward in reference to here on earth. Like, obviously the ultimate reward would be, you know, eternity in heaven. But as far as having, you know, because I did this, I then should get what Joel Osteen or somebody else like that has. But he did it without necessarily looking for, just say, that return on investment. You know what I'm saying? He didn't stick with it all these years, thinking that one of these days God will then do this. Like he
yeah, but it's also kind of a kick in the teeth that you know, not only did you not get that reward, but now it's like you got to go, you know, the rest of your life down the Michael J. Fox path.
For sure, but I think it also speaks volumes to what he considers, you know, a reward. I mean, I think you as his son and as his loved one, you know, may even be taking it harder than him, only because you're seeing your
100%.
dad, you know what I'm saying?
100%.
Right. You know what I'm saying? You're seeing your dad like that, and so you don't. None of us.
It's like watching Samson lose his strength. You know what I mean?
For sure, yeah. but I'm saying, and we don't want to see our loved ones, you know, go through it. That's just like, even when, and this isn't to compare situations, but just as an example, like, I'm sure Kellie took it harder when her dad went through the internet slander from the video, you know, that people were going at him about, more than he did. Like, I'm sure he probably wasn't that bothered by it. Once again, my assumption, as opposed to Kellie, like, her feelings was really hurt. This is her dad, you know what I'm saying? Like, she felt some certain type of way. So it is one thing to be on the outside looking in and to feel some type of way when you feel like your loved one, especially your father, is, you know, is being dealt, just say, a negative hand. But I do think that your father is a good example, and this is with me not having a conversation with him, with me not ever even meeting him, but I think he's a great example of what, just say, true service to God looks like, as opposed to the people who do it only for the reward. There's a lot of people who get into ministry and then get out of it because the money ain't adding up, or the notoriety ain't adding up, or, you know, whatever the case may be, and then they end up doing something else because it's a better opportunity financially, or you know, for notoriety, whatever the case may be. But the fact that he understood his assignment, understood his mission, and stuck with it, even in spite of everything that has taken place, I think it leads right back to what you just said when you quoted the scripture, as far as the first should be last and the last should be first. Even if this is even considered him even being last, but regardless of what place in line, quote unquote, that he's in, I think that he still, I think his eternity in heaven will be well worth it, you know, compared to, just say, somebody who got the good life, if you will, here on earth. You know what I'm saying? Even when I was, and this isn't no slander against him at all, but even when I was watching, Tyler Perry had a documentary that came out recently, and as I was watching just the documentary, and even different celebrities that may have been on it that talked about, like, how blessed Tyler Perry is as a result of having his own studios and stuff like that. Not that he's not blessed, and not that Tyler Perry has done anything wrong by any means, but I did kind of feel some type of way about how, and I'm guilty of this myself, but how we equate stuff to being truly blessed. You feel what I'm saying? Like,
well, this isn't stuff.
No.
In the particular, like I haven't said stuff about any of these things.
No. But I'm saying, but even you use the example as far as Joel Osteen, like having a certain type of lifestyle, or even like your dad having to.
I just used him as an example. I could have used 100 others, but yeah, it's people that I consider to be evil men.
Right.
Being rewarded.
Understood. But what I'm saying is, but I think that the way that God rewards is different than the way that man rewards. Is what I'm getting at. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah. No. I get what you're saying.
And as a result of that, I think once again, without having a conversation, without even meeting your dad, I think he understands that, and I grasp the concept that he understands that. And to me, that's your dad's situation. Even me being separated from it inspires me to have that mindset more than the mindset I've had of old, which was let me go after just say what a Tyler Perry has or Joe Osteen has, whatever like that, because that's what a blessed life looks like, as opposed to, yeah, I may suffer here on earth, but sticking to my assignment regardless would then allow me to get what my ultimate reward is.
Well, if all things are to be believed and everything is correct, then the amount of time on earth is so insignificant compared to eternity. Correct. So, I mean, yeah, that would be a wise investment to, but there's an old saying that there's no such thing as an atheist in a foxhole, right? Because it essentially means that when times are tough, when things go down, a lot of people who wouldn't normally have faith, normally wouldn't call on God, you bet they're going to be calling on God now that the chips are down. I have never felt that in any way at all. I have very much always been the opposite of that. I find myself more grateful in times when everything's going good, and I tend to be like, thank you, I appreciate all these blessings and so on and so forth. And then when times are bad, I tend to get more, a little more anxious, a little more bitter about the situation, being like, why you let this happen,
Right.
But that's just me. But I get what you're saying, because again, that saying is there for a reason.
Hey y'all, sorry to interrupt, but we have a few church announcements. Follow us on Instagram at TheWorstOnesPK. New content coming soon. We also have a TikTok at TheWorstOnesPK. No content yet, but continue to check us out. If you want to, when you listen to our podcast, you can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast. Just make sure you type in The Worst Ones Podcast and you'll find us. And when you get there, make sure you like, you comment, you subscribe, and you share. Thank you to our 500,422 followers. We love you so much. Now, back to the show. I mean, I just wanted to say this, back to the start of the topic and Terry sharing with us the ways in which his faith has been tested in these huge ways over his 40 plus years of life. I definitely feel what you're saying, just in terms of when things are good. Like I said, I'm grateful. I'm happy. Thank you, Lord. Praise and worship is great. When things are hard and difficult, I am probably more of the anxious and the irritable and the why, Lord. I'm also, when you said this earlier when you were talking, Terry, about just some things need to be addressed and talked about, and you can't and these weren't your exact words, but pretty much like sweep it under the rug, or try not to address it or avoid it. You have to talk about it. I'm probably more of an avoider as well. I can be a very good out of sight, out of mind. And so when those tough times come and my faith is tested, it is difficult for me to understand. And I haven't had the experience of the death of a parent or a significant illness. And so I can't imagine what my conversations look like with God, because like you said, Terry, like my father did everything that you asked him to do, in my mind. My father was in ministry. He tied 25%. He's a praying man. He's this, he's that. He was good. He did all of this. And then, I'm sure, and I don't know exactly how you feel, that I would definitely be like, how dare you, choose my father, or my father has to experience this, where, to example, Joel Osteen, doesn't.
Yeah.
And so
Poor Joel Osteen. He's
I
getting
know.
killed on this thing. I'm kidding. I don't care. I hate it.
So, and so I definitely foresee in the future for me how my faith will be significantly tested when those times come, especially when it relates to my parents. And even to, your first example when you were a child and your parents getting a divorce, and how, the church treated him and you guys then. Again, I'm and the Lord has built me to be such a sensitive soul. And my feelings is just so easily hurt, and I just get so bent out of shape so easily. That for me is like, well, Lord, you made me this way, then why would you put something in front of you? And then that the Lord gives you nothing. What is it? That you can't bear. What's the
the God only gives you what you can handle.
Right.
Which I take, because of the things I've talked about, I take that as a great compliment. I'm like, thank you. You obviously think I can handle a lot.
And see, I'm probably the opposite. Like, Lord, I can't handle it. Take it back. That ain't me. Like, nope, you chose the wrong one. Sorry, Lord. And so I know for me, and even having this conversation, and again, I thank you and appreciate you for sharing this with us, because it really makes me think when times come for me, because there is going to be a time where my parents pass away. There is going to be a time where they make it there. What does me figuring out now the strength of my faith and the strength of my relationship with God when that time comes for me, because it's good when everything is good. And I'm happy, and I have this and I have that, and blah, 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 blah. Everything is good. But I tend to fall apart, big or small, when things happen.
Well, I just want to put a finer point on that, especially one thing. Probably the biggest one was my mom and that whole situation. Because, here's somebody who just dedicated her life right out of the bat, like 17 years old, and just said, this is my life, sold everything she owned to go, preach or go with my dad so he could preach at churches in Haiti and the Bahamas and this and that. And then I got to watch that evolution. But then at the other end of the spectrum, I got to watch that same person like spiraling mentally and having all these issues and just crying out, begging for like nothing more than peace, peace in your mind so that you can find joy in your life again. To me, that just seemed like the baseline, just like the baseline thing. And I remember thinking, like, you could have done that with a wave of your hand. So where were you?
Right.
You know, and that's a whole different.
Right.
We could do an episode on that.
Right.
So but that's why I want to get you guys' opinion, because I know that I'm jaded in that way. I know that I'm calloused a little bit.
Yeah.
But see, you're looking at me saying, "Oh, I don't know." No, I want to know what you know. I want to hear your thoughts on it, because again, I know mine are.
But I get Kellie's point, because it's kind of because the tests of faith that she's experienced are different than yours. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And
but they're equal. They are equal.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? That's relative. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, listen. I've known a lot of millionaires and billionaires just from my life and family associations and all this. When you're miserable, you're miserable. If you're miserable in a mansion, you'd be miserable in a mobile home. you know, and miserable is miserable. It doesn't matter where you are.
For sure, but I do think there's still a difference between miserable because you got an F on the test versus, you know what I'm saying, just say losing a loved one. You know what I'm saying? Like there's still levels to it, or even just, you know, I mean, I have family members who have experienced great trauma. You know what I'm saying? That when it's very surprising to me when I even look at them and to even see them be able to smile, or, you know, it still exists and not have lost their mind. So like that, because though I have just to experience my own trials and tribulations, you know, and I hate to, you know, compare and contrast, but when I think about what they've experienced, it's hard for me not to, you know, tuck my little stuff away, because this is like, man, I have nothing to complain about compared to, you know what I'm saying, just say what you've been through. Yeah, they are all tests of faith, but I do think some tests are harder than others.
You're saying that as if there's never been a person who took their own life because they were failing in their college. But that happens. That happens.
I'm not saying like that. I'm not saying like that. I'm just saying somebody there's just people who may just be, it may not go to taking their own life. They just maybe just be upset or
no, I'm just using that as an example.
Right.
You know, I got you. You're saying there's a difference between, you know, getting a bad grade and losing a loved one. I'm saying that there isn't.
I'm saying it depends
on you.
I'm saying we all go through it depends on you, for one, for sure. But there are different tests of faith, and you know, every test looks differently. You know what I'm saying? And everybody handles every different test differently. There's people who have grown up without a father who got strung out on drugs, and then there's LeBron James, you know what I'm saying, who's never known his father and becomes, you know, one of the best basketball players in the world. So everybody definitely handles it differently. I just but I also I understand why Kellie struggled to just say to try to speak to how she would handle something when she hasn't necessarily had to handle the same thing that you had. Like,
and that's what I'm saying. Like I this conversation because again, like I said, I am very much an out of sight, out of mind person. I'm a very much sweep things under the rug. I don't want to talk about it.
You should stop that.
I know, and that's why I'm saying, you know, especially when it comes to like my parents, is what I'm saying. Like when it comes to my parents, and so when they want to talk about their will and those type of things, I'm like, I don't want to do it. And so, like you said, but in this time with your father and your experience with your father, it really makes me think about what does, you know, how do I become stronger in my faith now so that I don't fall apart then? Because Kellie right now gonna fall apart. But what do I need to do, you know, and that's not, you know, for you guys to answer, that's between me and God, you know, but what do I need to do to strengthen myself? Because I like and I can't remember who said it, Terry or Rudy, about you know, it's like watching Samson lose his strength, you know. Yeah. Okay, you know, where Samson may have understood what was happening and why, you know, but me watching him, you know, it's devastating, you know. And so for my parents, they may understand what is happening and why and see the bigger picture and, you know, whatever the Lord showed me this 10 to 15 years ago, but as their child, I don't understand, you know. And so unfortunately, I can't help you in the way, you know, in terms of my thoughts, because it really helps me in, Kellie, what do you need to do to prepare for the future?
Well, I mean, honestly, it kind of goes back to what you said, Kellie, about, you know, the old adage that God only gives you what you can handle. And I laughed it off and said, it's kind of a compliment then. But that is kind of true, because you're saying, like, I mean, Rudy was making the point that, you know, there's a difference between it. And I think it's a relative difference. It's a relative difference, just like that adage says. Okay, what can you handle and what can we give you?
And I understand.
Do you know what I mean? And that actually that makes me that tends to give me peace. Is like, okay, well, at least I can handle a bunch, I guess. You know, as opposed to. But I also look at it, and every time I hear of, you know, like I said, Rudy, every time I hear that somebody got, you know, straight A's one semester because their roommate decided, you know, it wasn't worth it anymore. Like, I think, okay, well, that's what they could handle. And it's not an arrogance thing because, again, it doesn't matter. It's like a strong man can lift a lot, a weak man can lift what he lifts, but it's relative to them. That's the difference.
But I also think it's important for one. So I'm gonna pull a Janessa here and go to the scripture because First Corinthians 10-13, where this whole just say old adage comes from. This is in King James, but there hath no temptation taken you, but such as is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above ye are able, but will with temptation also make a way of escape that you may be able to bear it. So, if just say if Christ and God is what you believe in and the Bible is what you stand on, it's not even just really so much, okay, God gonna give you this because you're this level of strength. It's the things, just say anything that comes into your life that you may not be able to bear, God will provide what they call a way of escape or something so that it puts you in position to be able to bear. So realistically, we're all relying on the strength of God regardless. And the strength that just say you're able to bear it with is because that's the strength that God gave you and that's how God made you. So it's not that like, oh, I'm gonna just give this to you because you're just that strong. It's the strength that God gave you. It's the strength that He's allowing you to have for whatever reason. And I think that the different tests that you've been through, even the title of this being called Test of Faith, I think it is to test your faith, to make you even ask these different questions, to have this outlook that you have, to ultimately still build a mindset that God is building on the inside of you. Because I'm a firm believer, regardless of what anybody else believes, that nothing happens by mistake, regardless of how shitty of a situation it may be. Like, it's definitely happening for a reason. I just think the process into finding out that reasoning behind it is just it's a hard journey to take because we all go through so much. Like, I'm sure everybody on here can mention something that you've been through or even going through currently that we may not have ever known. You know what I'm saying? That's a real, just say, suffering process that you're having to currently deal with or have dealt with in the past, or one day we'll have to deal with. But I think ultimately it is still a test of faith, and your faith has to be tested in order for it to grow. And
sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, and I truly don't believe, Terry, that you've had these different tests of faith just for you to ultimately lose your faith. I think that it ultimately will build your faith to whatever it is, that you want, that God wants you to be. Even the fact that we even have this platform, this podcast is, it's been a test of faith in itself, and has survived even long enough for us to even reach this conversation, for this to even be a thing. And I don't think that that's by, happenstance. Like, it's definitely so that, like, one of these days, Terry, all of this will completely build your faith to a level that you probably couldn't even have imagined it would be, because of all the, just say, the tests that you have been through and even currently going through.
Well, I wasn't saying it like I was given these tests because I had more faith or less faith or whatever. But I will come back at you with a scripture, which is Matthew 17:20. For I tell you that if you have the faith the size of a mustard seed, you can move this mountain. So it, again, really is relative. It's not the challenge in front of you.
But it's relative because God made us all different. You feel what I'm saying? Like, God made Kelly one way, made me one way, made Janessa one way, made you one way. And so it's going to all be relative to how we are made. But nonetheless, the test of faith is still the test of faith. Like, some of it could be a test to see how much faith you will maintain. Some of it can be a test to build your faith to more than what you have. But it's still a test of faith. It's just relative to how we all deal with it. Because, just say, like, if any of us were in each other's same situation, we would all deal with it differently. You feel what I'm saying? Kellie,
I think we're testing Janessa's faith right now because she's been hugging that pillow since we started this.
I think that's a huge bad.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
whatever it is. She's you know, I don't
And
know.
we cannot miss my jewel either.
No, we got.
Well, I have plenty to say, but y'all just been talking.
They really
Yeah,
have.
that's why I brought it up, because I'm like, you have to talk during this.
But I know we got to hard out in 5 minutes.
No,
so-
That's why I
Huh?
looked at the clock. I'm
No,
like,
we're good.
all right, we got
Oh,
to.
you don't got to go?
We're good. Just go ahead.
Well, good. Go on, Janessa.
I don't even know where to even start.
At the beginning.
In the beginning.
So I
was the
guess
word.
my thoughts are not maybe the most popular. And I struggle to accept this. When there's always this struggle between the human side and the spiritual side in this Christian walk.
Mhm.
And it's like on the human side, we're trying to understand things in our human nature, in our human understanding. And even though the Bible clearly tells us that, God's ways, not our ways, and his thoughts aren't our thoughts. And, that type of concept, they are literally like polar opposites, because we want to know how is like the why and how is it happening, and the logical, he's been so faithful to you, he should get a reward. But that's not how God operates. And I can't sit here and like, the part I think that's hard for me sometimes is I can't sit here and say, oh, that's fair. But at the same time, God is God. And I think part of the Christian journey, and maybe this is where your father is, I don't know, is he has fully accepted and surrendered his life to God. Come what may, I'ma just live my life for you. And in his life, what has come is what has come. And I'm not saying, like, again, as a child, I would be devastated. I'm like Kellie, I would be a puddle. I just couldn't, But your father may have gotten to a point where he has come to accepted it. He has come, him and God may have had conversations. And like, he's just, you're not going to see what he has come to peace with, if he's come to peace with it. I don't know. But that's not a popular opinion. That doesn't make anybody feel good, especially the people who have gone through something traumatic. You want justice. You want to understand why. Like, you are hurt. You just don't understand. How could a God that is so good let this happen? Like, there are all these real questions that people want to know the answer to, and saying God's thoughts are not our thoughts and his ways are not our ways just seems sometimes like a cop-out, or not even a cop-out, but just a real simple way to bundle up a real complex emotion, feeling, thought, life, everything. And so I don't I don't have the answers to kind of like Kellie didn't have the answers either. But I will say, I feel like I'm kind of being tested in my faith, but in a different way right now. And I go on a roller coaster. Some days I'm good, some days I'm not. Some days it's like minute by minute, hour by hour. And just to, I'm a practical person, Terry. So I'm just going to give you a couple of practical things that you can implement or not.
Sure.
But I have a really good girlfriend. And over time, we have gotten, because we're kind of on a similar journey, but we've just gotten really comfortable sharing and talking about things that we probably never would have talked to anybody about. Kind of like how, certain topics may be seen as taboo. Nobody really talks about it. We have been on this journey together, and it has just been refreshing just to be able to say the words and say how I really feel. And just, it's not necessarily being upset at God, or just, it's literally just getting it off my chest. And over time, that has turned into each other, like me and my friend really encouraging each other and bringing Bible scriptures to each other and There are days that I'm having good days and she's down, I'm able to pour into her. There are days when I'm down and she's having a great day and she's able to pour into me. And that's just something in my 30s I'm experiencing. So again, it might not work for everybody, but that has been really helpful. And then second, I got a really good devotional that was targeted to what, like, something I'm really working on in my personal life. And I've really just been trying to focus on it. Nothing too deep, nothing too strenuous. My life is real busy. You know, I don't want anything to seem like another homework assignment or something like that. But I just do this devotional. I have conversations with God. I sit and listen. I try not to be so busy all the time that I'm missing what he's saying to me. And I'm just, I guess to a certain extent, really, to Kellie's point, trying to strengthen my relationship now. It doesn't look like it. You know, it might not look like it on the surface, but that's what's happening. When you're spending time with God, when you're having these devotionals with God, when you're ministering and talking to other Christians and fellowshipping, you're developing and strengthening your relationship with God. And so I don't know. I don't have all the answers, but that's just where I personally am with where the topic is. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Well, a couple of things you said there. Yeah, I remember when all this started, before we actually knew what it was. At first, we thought it was long haul COVID and this and that. But we did find out that a study was done that showed that if you have a precursor for Parkinson's, having COVID can sometimes activate that. And because of the timeline and how things happen, that's where I think all this started. But I remember having a conversation with him about this a couple of years ago. And he almost said exactly what you said, Janessa, which was, you know, I've been serving God for almost 50 years. I'm not going to quit now. You know, he's like, I'm not going to start questioning my entire life now just because, you know, it's getting harder. So, I mean, that is obviously very true. You know, you don't hang it up when the chips get tough, but at the same time, it is difficult. You know, it's difficult to watch, and it's difficult to kind of, like you said, God's ways are not our ways. His mind isn't our mind. But that's the problem, because we're looking for meaning. We are looking for the why. You know, you see, you know, Sandy Hook happen and all these kids get murdered, and you're like, why? So, I mean, you talk about a mustard seed of faith. That takes a lot more than a mustard seed. You know, that's more like a bowling ball worth of faith to look at a situation like that and say, well, there's got to be a reason for this, you know. And I just think for people, it's hard in situations like that to, you know, for those parents especially, to maintain their faith during that and say, well, there's got to be a reason. I mean, that is something that people that just can automatically do that, I am extremely jealous of. That you can just not question anything.
And it's been happening. I mean, you can think about all the firstborns and all that in the Bible, the different stories when it come down to Moses or different people like who got slaughtered, you know, as a result of trying to just say kill a Messiah or whatever the case may be. I mean, like there's definitely been, you know, just historically, just the wildest things when it comes down to, you know, human life that has taken place that definitely will make a human ask, like, God, why did you have to do this? I mean, we can ultimately even ask, why does evil or anything exist in the first place? Because just like you said, with the wave of a hand, or even in the beginning of creation, like he definitely could have created a life in a world where everything is just always good. Like that could have been a thing, but he didn't. For only, like, as we always say, God only knows.
Because she had to go and eat the apple. That's why.
But I'm saying, but even it could have created where it wasn't a tree that was forbidden. You know what I'm saying? Like that. All of these.
Abraham is a good one too.
All of these different things literally could be a question like, why did it even have to start from the root of even being a good and evil and having the knowledge of it, and yeah, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I think without it even being a cop out or a scapegoat, like it is because his thoughts and ways are, you know, are above ours. The Bible even says even more specifically, like as high as the heavens are, above the earth, it's as high as his thoughts and ways are above ours. So it is definitely an understanding that I don't even know if we may even be capable of grasping here on earth, but I do know that even to your father's credit, having that mindset of not, just say not copping out when the chips get rough, I think is a very good mindset to have. And even to what Janessa and Kellie were saying, like preparing now so that, when things get rough, you can have more to stand on, because I don't care who you are, like the chips are going to get rough. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you're going, every single person who lives on this earth are going to endure something that is going to test their faith. It's going to be a trial, a tribulation, etc. Regardless of what life you choose, whether you choose to serve the devil or whether you choose to serve God, like you're going to you're going to have those rough days, 1,000%. But once again, to your father's credit, I think it's very, for what it's worth, honorable and admirable and even inspiring that, in spite of, like, he definitely understood the assignment and he's seeing it all the way through. You know what I'm saying? And I definitely salute him for that, and even desire to have that same level of faith.
In all logic, honestly, like it would be a little silly. Like it'd be pretty foolish to come all this way and then right at the finish line.
But I'm saying even back then, even back when all the stuff first, happened many years.
I know what you meant.
You know what I'm saying? Like
trying to bring a little levity, but sure.
Yeah. No, for sure. But I mean, I do. I sincerely desire to have that level of stick to itness, even in spite of, because like I said,
it would be like all of us. It would be like Danny Glover's character in Lethal Weapon. He's got 3 days retirement. It would be a little like him just going, "All right, I quit," and just leaving, 3 days before you retire, kind of a thing.
No, for sure. I got it. Does anybody else have anything else before we go to Janessa's?
No, I thought this was a great conversation.
Janessa's widescreen.
Oh my gosh.
With the heat.
I tried to type some notes up so I wouldn't be stumbling.
I have that same exact heating pad.
Okay, well.
I mean, it looks huge.
Janessa, drop your jewels.
Oh my gosh. So today's jewel is called "You Are Unique on Purpose." So per norm, I'm always pulling these from my own personal life experiences. So recently I've been thinking about starting a business in the future. And I mean, like within the next couple of years, because I'm busy right now. But as I was thinking about it, I started talking myself out of it. And initially, the thoughts that were coming to my mind was like, the retail business is just really saturated right now. Then you have everybody trying to be an influencer on social media. You have the TikTok shops and the Amazon storefronts and the Etsy shops, and everybody just kind of is doing the same type of things. And then personally, I get to a point, and maybe y'all have experienced this too, when you start kind of just scrolling on social media, you'll start seeing the same type of content over and over and over. And for me, it gets to a point where like, I don't even watch it. I'm just skipping past it because I don't want to see any more cupcake decorating videos or workout videos or whatever. And so I was just kind of talking myself out of starting this business before I had even starting it. And, God showed me that he created everybody uniquely. Even twins, identical twins, have differences. You may or may not know that twins have different fingerprints. Of course, they have different behaviors, personalities. Like no one person on this earth is the same as somebody else. And God told me that if he called me to something, that he has already gone before me and set everything up, and that he wants to use my unique gifts and talents to accomplish a goal that he has set out in the earth. And this is nothing like mind blowing or anything like this. I've heard this before, but it just kind of hit me harder this time because I was literally trying to figure out how to overcome all these hurdles trying to start this business. And God is literally telling me, if you do it my way, you don't have to figure out anything. You just have to do what I say. And it just kind of really hit me in a different way, talking about test of faith. And I just want to encourage everybody to just really try to walk out your God-given assignment, whatever it may be. There's room for all of our gifts. God literally designed it that way by making everybody unique. And if we just kind of keep that mindset, like we can be everything that God has called us to be. We are unique on purpose, so we can fulfill unique assignments. And that's it. Now take me off the screen.
Walk out your God-given assignment.
Amen.
Which I think is very befitting for this conversation because, like I said, even goes to what we were just talking about with Terry's father.
Yeah, that wasn't planned.
Right. No, for sure.
It was divine.
Definitely divine for sure. It definitely speaks to my life for sure. Because I can get into it another time, but I definitely struggle day to day with like completely submitting to my assignment. Like there's always a level of doing the assignment, but also trying to, do my own thing simultaneously. So, but we'll save that conversation for another day. All right, Princess Kellie.
Well, I just want to say my spirit is filled.
Oh my God, whatever.
No, I'm an emotional one. I should change my from princess to crybaby or something. But at Princess Kellie 51, still private. I may no, never mind.
Next.
Yeah, you're not gonna do that. This is
never mind.
We're not even playing with you, Kellie, no more. You can find me at JRihanna _. We have fun over there.
_.
At Terry Wayne Comedy on all platforms.
Yep. Unclaimed Ashes.
The book Unclaimed Ashes on Amazon.com.
You can find Unclaimed Ashes on Amazon and Kelly's shelf.
Cyber Monday sale is gone. Sorry, y'all, you missed the Cyber Monday sale.
Both copies are just as fresh and unread on Amazon and Kelly's shelf.
First of all, I opened it and flipped through the pages. Don't do that.
And I'm gonna say this right here on camera. I'm actually gonna buy the book. I'm gonna buy the book and I'm gonna read it.
Oh,
I'm gonna buy the book and read it when I finish grad school. I got
it. Makes a great stocking stuffer.
I got you here.
Look at there.
That might be like
sorry,
my
Rudy, I forgot you don't hold presents.
Was just to plant the seed of other people buying it and reading it. So
sure.
I bought it first when it first came out. Now I bought it when it first came out.
She
to
wants
plant
credit.
The seed for however long later, a year or two later, for Rudy to buy it and read it. But when Janessa finishes,
at Risa _.
I'm talking. We done passed our time already. So I get some extra words. At Risa _G, our producer. Shout out to the best thing since sliced bread. But Unclaimed Ashes. Okay.
Nothing at all. All right. We love y'all. Thank y'all for supporting us, rocking with us. We hope y'all had a great holiday. We are the Worst Ones, and we will see you.
Top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world.